listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Newsroom After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Newsroom After Show.
Oh, yes, it is. I'm waiting for the music to play. Hello, everybody. The Newsroom came back strong this week, and Bing is for doing, and we are here doing another after show for the Newsroom. My name is Kelly, and I am joined by some very intelligent and powerful young ladies tonight. And we also have a man in the house tonight. So we have a special guest. So I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. Say hello.
Hey, guys. I'm Kristin.
I'm Kendra Kabasele.
I'm Sarah Mendoza.
And I'm Sean Overman.
So we've got a good balance, I think, tonight. So there was a lot of like relationship stuff going on tonight. So we've got a good male perspective to kind of balance it out. Since I think we've been gushing a little bit too much over Jim.
Who's to say that Sean won't gush over the gym?
You could, but I think now we can kind of see them all. You know.
So you ladies have been gushing over Jim, that guy, for the past few weeks.
Yep.
So cute.
I'm amazed. I guess that's what it is. It's his cute factor.
Well, don't forget Neal, too.
Well, yes. Yeah. And Neal's got a hot little girlfriend we saw.
Yeah.
I get for the second time in this episode. So we start out with, it's New Year's Eve. That's kind of how the show opens. It's New Year's Eve. It's kind of awkward. Jim is working. Will is in his office with a glass of champagne and a tuxedo by himself. And then, Mackenzie comes in asking for a couple of minutes with her boyfriend, which is awkward. So her boyfriend, Wade, we see my favorite, John Tenney again, that comes in. And that's kind of what kicks off Will's whole dating thing, because he kind of slips up and they're talking. Wade wants to pitch him like a story idea about this whole financial crisis thing. And Mackenzie calls him honey, and he blurts out, "Don't call him that, it drives me crazy." And then he says, "Oh, I didn't say that word, it just came out of my mouth."
Yeah, because Wade has some big job that could actually kind of be a good source for all of them to use.
Mm-hmm. Especially considering the nature of what he's been talking about on the news. But that kind of like gets his whole thing going where now he wants to try to really move on. And what does he say? I want to live my life like I'm actually alive.
Right.
Yeah. So he starts going out on dates. And when we saw him dating in the episode before last, the second episode, his dates were, very random. He had like a cheerleader and, kind of like bubbly girls that he probably wouldn't have a relationship with. And Charlie kind of calls him out on this.
And now he's dating the classier, older women, right?
Well, he has Sloane kind of hook him up, which is Olivia Munn's character, who, to her credit, says that's an area which she does not excel at.
He's like, you're supposed to be the smart one. You're the one with 2 PhDs here. Well, that's economics. This is different.
So the first woman he attempts to go and talk to, we find out at this New Year's Eve party, is a gossip columnist. And TMI, yes, which obviously is like a playoff of TMZ, which I think is really funny. And she wants to do this takedown story. And we find out that Will is on a mission to civilize everybody.
Which he said 3 times.
Yes, he's on a mission to civilize. So he starts to explain this to this woman. What was her name? Nina Howard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was.
And she was an attractive woman. She looked nice. She was, it was a nice little dynamic.
He pointed out the legs.
Yes. They had a little flirtation going on, and then he wants to fix her. When she says first that she wants to fix him, and I love the quote that he said, that that's just what a man wants, is when a woman's trying to fix him. I thought that was really cute. But then she talks about this takedown story, and he doesn't understand the whole gossip for entertainment. So he, starts going into his whole spiel and basically just insults her and tells her he would have more respect for her if she was a heroin dealer.
He thinks what she peddles is garbage.
Yeah, like below a drug dealer. So he basically tells her she's trash. Well, not her, but what she does. And he says, but it's a good thing you met me when you did. And the drink goes in the face.
So I can fix you.
Yeah. So then, what do you guys think about? What do you guys think about his attempt to civilize people?
I don't think he's doing a very good job at it if he's getting drinks thrown in his face.
He's very antagonistic, which is
Right.
it's cool though. It's entertaining. It's fun to watch, and I think that a lot of us have that like in us where we feel like, oh, I want to show people my perspective, but. That's the way I kind of used to feel when I was younger, and now I'm like, okay, there's your perspective, here's my perspective. I don't have to try and convert you. It feels like McAvoy's trying to convert everybody to his way of thinking.
And I think all he thinks is his way is he doesn't feel like he's taking sides. That's what I think is so funny to me about the way that he does this, because he honestly doesn't believe he's on a side. He just thinks that this is the way everyone should think, because you shouldn't, hurt people for entertainment. You shouldn't talk bad about, you should only talk about things that are relevant to the community. And he doesn't see this as being relevant. So he doesn't feel like he's taking a side. He just, calls it being civilized.
Well, go ahead.
I thought it was interesting. The second girl that he talks to that ends up also liking the same show and was asking him questions like, I don't want to talk about this, but I like that she said to him, well, it's a guilty pleasure. And then he was making the argument, well, I think guilty pleasures are different for different people. I kind of agreed with her to that extent, but it was guilty pleasures if you're eating a chocolate souffle or listening to a certain song. And I thought that was interesting that she was counter-arguing him a little bit that way. But his way of going about it is a bit more combative. And
Right.
Was it you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar?
Right.
He's using way too much vinegar right now.
Yeah.
Although you can catch fruit flies with vinegar, but that's a whole other topic.
Oh,
So sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can be like that and it works. What were you going to say?
I was just thinking about how Newsnight is on an obvious mission to change the way that news is done, to put on good news and just not entertainment. So they've been so stuck on that in the newsroom, and it's funny because Will, obviously he's unable to separate that mission from his personal life, because here he is meeting people on a personal level, and no matter what, he's sticking to it. Where if he sees that somebody's trying to do that gossipy, entertainment driven type news content, be it on TMI or whatever, gossip column or whatever, he's still putting it in the conversation, because I don't know if he's so like impassioned by it or what, but he's unable to separate it, and that's gonna kill him when he's trying to form a new relationship and get over Mackenzie, because how can you do that when you can't actually just be personal with someone and not involve the professional aspect in what you're trying to do with your job?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of see his point, though, is that a guilty pleasure, is it really... Could you really call something that when basically what you're doing is just being mean? You're being, malicious towards someone else. Somebody that you don't know, you're just, you know what I mean? And everybody does it. It's one of those things when, you look at a train wreck and you can't, or a bad car crash, you just can't look away from it. It's just, one of those things. And I don't purposely go on and watch reality television, but if it's on or somebody's watching it, I sit and get all into it, and all of a sudden I've got opinions about everything. So I see what he's talking about. Like, it's just, that's not this habit, and it's just kind of gotten worse and worse. And that's what they're trying to take out of the news.
Yeah, I think.
And so he's just trying to do that.
Yeah, it comes down to even just compatibility. If they're not going to be on the same page in their just downtime, he's not going to be watching, well, I won't say names, but the gossip shows.
Right.
They're not, those are the things I think that are important to him.
Yeah, because I think most of us agree with Will and his perspective. But if he's going to be around those kind of people, what does he expect?
Right. Well, we all know that he's not very good at socializing. He's socially awkward. So his way of trying to get
There's
people...
no filter.
No, he's never going to get anybody to ride his train with that bad attitude.
With the success that he's had, he probably figures, why do I need to change anything?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what makes it worse too is that because he's so successful and well known, that all these women he's dating, they like see him as that persona that's on TV. They don't see him as separated from that. So when they start talking to him about all that, all this stuff in the news or whatever, and all this garbage, he can't help but like come back at them with his news persona as well.
Right. And then hence we have the woman with the gun.
Who was played by Katherine Hahn, who I love. She shows up as a character actress in everything from Anchorman. She was on Girls. That was also HBO. And
Step Brothers.
Yes, I think she's awesome. She's
great.
So
Who did
funny
she
in
play
Step
in
Brothers.
She was much more attractive here than in all those other movies, I feel.
She was pretty hot. Yeah,
And
she looked good.
she always plays like that same type of character, but here it was toned down. And
Yeah.
I like that it was classier.
Yes, and I love it. She comes like,
With the
I'm a Southern liberal. Is that what she's like?
Yeah.
Or when he switches the gun, he's like, if a guy your size comes up to me in an alleyway, I do this and it's going to be fine. He goes, no, what's going to happen? He like popped the gun out of her, which is actually kind of a very cool stunt for Jeff Daniels, to do. And then he like basically the sideways like kill shot at her and he goes, is it wrong that I'm, exactly.
I wonder how many
gangster
takes
shot.
by this. How many takes that took? Too.
I know, to kind of flip it out.
How much practice you got to do for that?
And she totally got turned on by it.
Right.
And he's like, no, that's not okay.
But then they probably,
Well, I
did it
love
anyways.
this. I love that Sloane hooks him up with a gun-toting crazy woman that is obviously she already knows that she's going to go nuts if he doesn't go out with her again, and she still sets him up with this chick.
And I don't think it was malicious either. You saw her and I was just like, I really don't understand this dating thing. I just was going to hook you up with somebody. I actually thought they were going to.
I thought that too.
With them
Maybe
talking
they
Sloane.
will.
And
It's
on the
still
New Year's
season one.
Eve.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe it's because they were talking a little bit later, and on the one hand, it would kind of make sense because they're both not good with relationships. They're very business oriented and super smart,
and a little socially awkward.
very
Yeah,
social.
she was sitting there at the party with her BlackBerry, and everybody else is kissing each other.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So maybe
That's
that
her
was
relationship.
maybe that was a little foreshadowing.
Possibly.
Could be. I don't know. But then that leads us into these bad dates. And then he is the topic of gossip columns. He's on page 6. He's on the cover of TMI. He's doing that. And all of, but the stories are getting a little bit twisted. All of a sudden, he's groping people. He's pointing guns at people's heads. And this was one of my favorite parts of the episode because, being a publicist, when they have him in the room trying to do damage control, I've been in so many of those meetings, and you have to stop and think about it. And, like from his side, to think that it's so stupid, why am I even addressing this? But you kind of have to. You have to say something about it. I don't know. Do you think that it is worth addressing, like all these rumors?
Yeah, because it'll affect the business because people do buy into that when they read the headlines on the tabloids. They think it's real and it's going to affect the way that your viewers, your audience looks at your station, your network, because you're a representation of that. So what I liked about it is that you got to see the behind the scenes and and then what we see on the tabloids. There's people who only see the tabloids, and there's people who see what's going on behind the scenes, like with us seeing Will going on these dates. It's not what it was, he's just got really bad luck, wrong people setting him up with the wrong people.
Yeah, he's in these bad situations,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it's in every gossip column. But then go ahead.
Do you think it would be good for him though to actually speak out against it? Because it seems like anytime he's put in that interview spot recently, it just gets worse for him. So maybe it's better if he keeps his mouth quiet.
Right.
That's what I was going to say. I think silence works, but then he can always work in his sarcasm while he's on air, and
But see,
kinda
but that's
squash
why.
Like poke fun at it
Yeah.
himself a little
he
bit.
has that kind of personality, and he can squash it there.
But the thing about it is just from my perspective, and I think why they're pushing a spokesperson to speak out for you, because if you do that, you poke fun. I mean, it's a serious accusation that he pointed a gun at somebody. As silly as the gossipy story is, there are people that will take that out and say, oh, he doesn't take it serious. He's making fun of it when he's on the news ranting and raving about liars, which we'll get into later. But you know what I mean? So I understand why they would be in that room talking. I mean, because you have to look at the situation from every angle. You have to look at it in a circle. Who's going to think about it this way? Who's going to think about it that way? So that's what makes my job fun and interesting, because I have to try to kind of put that all together and figure that out and anticipate that and then come up with something that, you know, somebody's comfortable with.
Yeah.
But, you know, in this episode, he didn't have to do that because Charlie realizes that they actually own that magazine. So then we find out what really is behind this.
Fonda.
That it's Leo. What was her name? What's her name? Leona.
Yeah.
Leona is on a mission to create cause to fire him for his crazy news rant.
And what a great way to do it.
Very subtle. Very subtle and silly. But you start building it up from the bottom, getting viewers to not like him. He's, you know, a what do you call it? Offending women.
A sexist, bigamist pig.
That's trying to shoot women, you know, basically is what they're doing. So it's a good tactic. It's unfortunate.
You would have thought that Charlie would have said something though to Will.
Yeah,
as part of his argument to not be going out with these crazies or random women, you know.
But then he says he didn't want him to get to scare him off from doing those newscasts.
Well, and I don't think Charlie really put it all as we kind of saw, didn't put it all together at the end, until the end there, that she would have gone that route. Because Jane Fonda, when she made that, she said something about, you know, sacrificing, you know, for integrity. Like, she would do something. But I don't know if he thought that she was bluffing or that it would take that particular route, you know. So he was probably keeping more an eye on the newscast and wasn't thinking about that she would kind of take pieces of his personal life.
I didn't think she.
That's a little dirtier.
Yeah, he probably didn't think that she would play that dirty. That she would probably find an angle, like on the political realm or something in that caliber, not necessarily gossip columns. So it was interesting to see. But when you have to get money for your station, you got to do what you got to do. You know, they need sponsors. They need, you know, to keep that going. You know. So, you know, just like us, we need sponsors to kind of keep this thing going. So how you can help us is you can go to AfterBuzzTV.com and click on our Amazon banner, and you can do all of your online shopping straight from AfterBuzz TV's website. You know, we get a little kickback. It's just one extra click, and you help us to be able to sit here and chat about these amazing shows. So please make sure to go to AfterBuzzTV.com and do all of your online shopping from our site.
And that is something that I just did recently within the last week.
I just did yesterday. I bought so much stuff. I spent like $200. So hopefully, you know. And that was my lowest bill so far.
What was it that you bought?
I need stuff for my apartment and my new puppy, who left as a present in the studio today. So now I have to get my backyard ready. So I got I have these big trees, so I got like this sawing pole thing and like a leaf blower and like all these things that I've never bought before in my life. So it was really interesting. I actually read the reviews too to see what people said about these things. So it'll be fun when I get all that stuff. Let's see if I can use it. I don't know.
Well, congratulations on your new puppy.
Oh, thank you. She's adorable.
Yes, Molly's doing well back here.
Oh, good.
Marissa's babysitting.
I'm enjoying her.
Yes. So all of this craziness going on in the newsroom, and Will is not going to take it. He's, you know, like, you know, screw this. I'm going to do my newscast the way I'm going to do it. I'm ready to play. So it gets everybody hyped up. You know, Mackenzie's apologizing, saying that she messed everything up. He's like, let's just forget about it. Let's move on, because now he knows it's serious and he's ready to play ball when he finds out that Charlie was having these meetings.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how the news episodes are going to go after this. But we've got Jim, Maggie, Lisa, and Dawn. What do we think about that? What do you think about our little love square?
Yeah.
You know, because this has been our big topic. We talk about this every week. We're all obsessed with Jim. What I'm curious. What is your take on it?
Okay, so this to be honest, this is the first episode I've watched, so I've not been able to see these relationships unfolding like you girls have been. So it seems like so Maggie and Dawn are together, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then it seems kind of like Dawn has a little bit of a thing for Lisa? Is that her name? What was her name again?
Oh, the roommate, Lisa.
Yeah.
Is that what you took?
It feels to me like even though he's dating this girl, he's still got like a flirtatious kind of thing going on with Lisa, or he wants her. Maybe she's like, I don't know, maybe he has like a secret desire for her.
Oh,
you guys haven't talked about that yet?
No.
Oh, well thankfully you have a guy here now.
We haven't met Lisa.
Yeah.
It was more because Maggie and Jim were kind of hitting it off, and Don was keeping an eye on that because he kind of likes to control Maggie. They don't have a good relationship. It's always very on and off that way. And I think he was just throwing in Lisa as the roommate because who knows, Maggie better than, potentially Dawn is somebody who lives with her 24/7. Yeah. So if she's going to say anything about Jim, which we found out last episode, she has been talking about Jim,
and
it's going to be Lisa. Yeah. So to get Lisa to be hooked up with Jim, who obviously likes Maggie.
Clearly, when he was like complimenting her on New Year's Eve and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's been like that since.
They've totally got this thing that they totally are crushing on each other. She won't admit it to anybody, but it's so obvious. And he, he's talked about it to Neal, like they've kind of talked about it.
And Mackenzie.
And Mackenzie kind of is Mackenzie, just so you have some background, Mackenzie kind of put him out there with Maggie and was like, see that girl over there? She's a younger version of me. I remember when you had a crush on me, go like her.
Oh. Yeah, she's the Cupid in all of this.
So she kind of started this whole thing. So now they've had this really cute dynamic going on. But I think that Dawn was trying to flush out that crush because, just to really get it out in the open. So he used Lisa to do that. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's a pretty good strategy, I must say.
Yeah. But what I want to know is, why does he have his girlfriend's roommate's phone number to be sitting, call, like they have these offside conversations, which I think, that goes to what you're saying. So that makes more sense because I don't know how comfortable
in case
I'd
of
be.
Emergency. He can't.
Well, and how long
that controlling that he has to meet. If he has to reach Maggie, he has to call Lisa.
Yeah, but they obviously have a relationship. Like they talk. If he's hooking her up without Maggie knowing, they obviously have times when they talk offside. Which, I don't know.
But how long have Dawn and Maggie been dating for, though? It's been a while.
I think it's been like a year, right? Or like 10 months or like something.
Those 4 months, right, at the first episode, and now it's about 6 or 7 months later.
So it's almost a year,
So
I think.
almost a year. You think he'd...
I just think...
no.
Yeah, I don't know that he likes Lisa. Maybe he just uses... Maybe he makes Lisa think that he likes her a little bit so that he can get intel or something like that, so he can call her up and ask questions.
I've never really been that BFF with my roommates' boyfriends, and they've, vice versa. So, I mean, I don't know. I think I get what you're saying. I think I get that there might be a little something.
I could see a situation, like this happening where, look, it's pretty much like this, I've had something similar like this where I'm kind of like dating a girl, and then I have her friend's number just because we've all been friends since college. We're like old college buddies, whatever. And then like I'll call her friend instead of her to hang out, and then it's like, so it has a weird vibe the rest of the evening after that. If we're all hanging out together, like 2 guys and 2 girls,
Yeah.
And it's like she gives me a look later on, like, you have the kind of like that. And so it is a weird dynamic when it happens.
It's a little weird. I mean, and if you've all been friends before and whatever, but you know how it goes when you start dating somebody, it gets a little weird. So we obviously know that Dawn has, that was really cruel, I think, what he did.
That was really...
It was really
mean. On so many different levels.
Yeah.
And if he is friends with Lisa off to the side, it's kind of rude for that because it puts them, problems with their roommate. You know? And I was a little mad at Lisa. I don't know about you guys, just because obviously there's something there, and granted she's not doing anything and she is in a relationship, but that's still your room. It's somebody you live with that you're supposedly friends with. I think that's...
Well, Maggie was kind of pushing her a little, though. Even though she knew better.
It's girl code. You know that she's
exactly.
Yeah. But, everybody knows, too, girls are a little competitive, so...
What I was hoping for was, this was her way of, agreeing to the date was her way of trying to put into the open that, hey, Maggie, you like this guy. And I know you're going to get jealous from this. And that she was trying to help her realize her feelings, trying to help Maggie, I guess.
by sleeping with Jim on the second date.
That's what I was hoping. But then when she slept with him, I agree with that because I was really let down. I was like, oh man. So she's not trying to help Maggie. She doesn't.
She's trying to help herself.
Yeah. Well, Maggie freaks
He's so cute though.
out, and Maggie freaks out.
Well, and I was mad at Maggie for not following up on her question. Did I do something wrong? Firstly, I didn't think she should have asked that.
No.
But she stopped, and then.
Yeah. Well, we know that about her character too. She doesn't stand up for herself to Dawn, but she does to
in
Jim.
the newsroom.
That's what's so interesting. Well, with anything, like, because Jim is her boss, that's her superior. Was very disrespectful and inappropriate in this episode, and which he calls her out on. But the dynamic between the three of them, I think, is really interesting because she's so scary and timid when it comes to her relationship with Dawn. She doesn't want to do anything wrong. She's walking on eggshells. But when it comes to her dynamic with Jim, she's such a powerful, strong, person that gives her opinion. She knows when she's right, and she's a more confident Maggie, I think.
It almost seems like she's more in a relationship with Jim than Dawn.
Right.
Yeah, it does. And I wonder how long we're going to see this little string.
And he was trying. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say Jim was trying to kind of nudge her, I think, in saying, well, wasn't it good that it was uncomfortable? Like kind of
Like,
trying
hello,
to make her
you
realize.
like me.
Yeah.
I like you.
Yeah.
I don't think she was going to say that after they spent a night together.
Yeah.
That makes it all really awkward.
Yeah.
But I think, making her face it, I think, maybe she just doesn't, like, she knows it, but she doesn't want to admit it to herself. And by him saying, because when I was younger, I can relate to that, being in a situation where you have somebody around all the time and then you don't realize that you really have these extra feelings until they start dating somebody else. And then you're like, oh, whoa, wait a minute, what are you doing? Who told you to do that? You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of what's happened.
Now, you obviously, you ladies, like, you've worked in newsrooms a lot and stuff, or like you've been in like more similar situations, compared to me, with like what we have in the show here. So how often do like a lot of these triangles or like love rectangles happen in your guys' workplaces?
A lot.
I can think
I've never seen it.
Oh, really?
I've only seen 2 situations like that in my 3 years in a newsroom.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The newsrooms that I've been in, I've seen more of it in other jobs that I've had. I worked in a restaurant for a while, and that happens all the time.
There's a lot of flirting though. Once the madness is done and people settle, they're like, okay, let's just try to be happy for a second here. Hey, so
I don't know. I've seen it kind of happen a lot in the different. I mean, I interact with a lot of different kinds of people though with what I do, but you got to think too. All the hours that you work, you're only around these certain people, so how do you meet anybody else? So I think that's kind of how it all kind of starts. But there's definitely a lot of flirting.
there's definitely a lot of secret relationships.
Yeah, there's a lot of like office husbands and wives. Have you guys heard that term? You're my office husband.
I've heard that.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you, does that happen, where you are? Can you relate to the situation with Jim and Maggie and Lisa and Dawn? Do you think Dawn was a jerk for doing what he did? Because I do. But please go to iTunes and download our podcast. Rate and comment. It just takes a second, and let us know what you think about the show and get involved. Apple also has this new podcast app. Have you guys downloaded it yet?
Yeah.
I just did.
I don't have it.
You
I don't have an iPhone.
I don't either, but
I have a BlackBerry.
I downloaded it on my iPad, and it's actually really cool because it organizes all of your podcasts it's free, so you can download the podcasts. It's with an S, podcasts app, and it's free on Apple, and it organizes all of your podcasts. You can go to them quickly and listen, so it'll do it all for you. So please go rate, comment, tell us what you think.
Just a little side comment. Speaking to the fact that you were saying you don't see anybody else because you're there all day. Actually, the morning producers at the newsroom that I was in, they are married, but I couldn't tell for a year and a half. I didn't know they were married because they have different last names.
Nice.
And they acted just so professional, but they fell in love working in the newsroom, and then they got married, and then
How long were they married?
They're still married.
How long have they been married?
I think they're out of the business now, though. They're doing something else. I'm not sure, but
so you probably caught them after all this like Jim and Dawn thing happened.
Yeah, they've been together a while.
Nice. I don't know. So you haven't seen that in any of your workplaces, any kind of love triangles?
I've actually experienced it.
Oh.
But it ended badly, so I don't think I'm gonna be doing it anytime soon.
Again.
Was it all your fault? Was it all your? Were you a Dawn? Were you the Dawn?
I don't know. I think I don't know that Dawn was a complete jerk. Jim was too.
So were you
too
Maggie?
mousy. I don't think I'm either of those guys.
Were you like kind of in between?
I don't know. I don't think I fit into those categories. With those dudes.
Was it because you were speaking behind, non-soundproof glass?
Well, with my thing, it was totally under like nobody knows about it except for like my direct supervisor and then the person who I was like having the little fling with.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's it. So it's really under
Our
the
after
surface.
show is so juicy now.
I know.
Well, this show is actually pretty juicy. Aside from the news stuff, which is cool, the news stuff is juicy. It's it's with all the guns and drugs and lies. That's interesting, with
Right.
the government and all that stuff. And then you got the personal relationships, and that gets juicy too.
Yeah. But I mean, I love how in this episode with the newsroom and, just what they were doing, they were literally calling people liars. I mean, he was putting warning labels on his news thing where he was saying that, every liar should come with a warning label for the rest of their lives. Like sex offenders have to register, so should these, politicians and people that are, making false claims.
Cleverly written show.
It is.
Because Aaron Sorkin has obviously done his research into these actual news events, and then the way that he writes it, it's not only entertaining, but he's making his own obviously personal statement about that situation, and it's hilarious.
It is. I like that he's pushing those limits and he's talking about these things that should be talked about, but it's still entertainment. I'm still seeing so many. And it's funny because it's reporters that are putting the show down and talking about how unrealistic it is and how the dialogue is too long-winded and, this and that, which I don't agree with. I think that the dialogue, it's short. It has a lot of hits. There's a lot of great one-liners in there. I don't get the long-windedness. What did you think about it? Did you watching it for the first time?
I didn't really think it was long-winded at all. I thought it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. I love McAvoy's character. Jeff Daniels is amazing. I actually like how there's themes here, like ratings versus ethics.
Right.
Right?
And it got really hardcore in the episode before that, talking about that, and it dragged onto this episode tonight. And that's what I like to see, is they're, putting this out there, but I still feel like it's in an entertaining way. And there were a lot of articles that I was reading, where reporters were just talking about how it's ridiculous, and, I think it's, I just can't get into it.
They need to lighten up.
I think
Seriously.
Well,
Sorry, man.
yeah, it's just like haters and, putting, Aaron Sorkin down and the female characters again with more bashing. And Olivia Munn, just gave an interview and I don't really like how she answered the question about that, because she just said that, well, if you get to know the people, then it kind of crosses over into their characters. But she didn't really
Get to know them as
that they bring
individuals,
because the argument is that Mackenzie's character is unbelievable because she has these outbursts that are just ridiculous, that no professional woman would ever have in real life. And I think that that's ridiculous.
Come on.
I think it happens.
It's intelligent but kooky women out there.
Absolutely. And yes, it's over dramatized to an extent, but I mean, I've witnessed situations that are similar, and it doesn't make you any less professional, it doesn't make you any less intelligent, it makes you human. So these female reporters that are writing these articles saying that, I think it's because they just don't want to admit that they've done that more than once on their own time.
I think you're right. I have in some of the organizations I've worked with, like some of the women that are at the top, like the chief officers of the organization, they can be very professional. They can take charge of the situations, and that's why they're the chief up there, right? But then in their personal lives, they can have huge meltdowns.
Absolutely.
Just imagine Jane Fonda's character.
Yeah. You can't always keep that hidden, especially with the amount of stress that gets kind of laid on you.
Even with Sloane Sabbath, that character, here she is with 2 PhDs. She's extremely intelligent, and she doesn't even know how to set up her friend on a blind date or whatever.
Yeah.
She picks a crazy, who she knows to be a jealous person, to go out with Will, and it's like, why? You're smart. Why did you do that?
Emotional intelligence quotient is not
Yeah,
very high.
and just like Will doesn't read the gossip columns because his eyes are attached to his brain.
Well, sometimes you just want like two friends, to like kind of get together and just have a good time. Let's just see what kind of chemistry happens.
Yeah.
And I've had situations where like that, it's like, oh gosh, I don't think I should do that again.
Or you're
Oil
just
and water.
kind of inept in that department.
Right, because all of your energy goes to this one side of what you do, and so the other side gets kind of neglected. So I think maybe that's the case for her. But let's take a quick break, and then we can come back and discuss the rest of this and get into some news and gossip, because I think we have some good stuff, right? I think so.
We do.
Yeah, I think so.
Hey there, good buddies. The handle's Woolly Bear. I'm a truck driving man, but I'm not that old school kind of truck driving man, no. I like to listen to podcasts while I'm driving through these great United States of ours. And my favorite podcasts in the world are from AFTERBUZZ TV. And why? Because AFTERBUZZ TV is like a post-game wrap-up show for all your favorite TV shows, like Jersey Shore, Dancing with the Stars, Mad Men, and a whole truckload more. I like listening to my Gossip Girl podcast, catching up with all my fellow fans and getting all the latest news and gossip. No, I got some strong opinions. And AFTERBUZZ TV lets me share those opinions with thousands of other listeners. Woo-wee, what a feeling. I used to doze off on those lonely stretches of road. And don't worry, I got the cruise control. But now I'm wide awake and listening to all the AFTERBUZZ TV goodness. Check them out. Give them a holler. And tell them the old woolly bear sent you.
I love the woolly bear.
Oh, Willie Bear.
I think it's so funny. But I know that a lot of people are trying to call in right now, and unfortunately we're short on time. We got to hurry up and wrap it up, so we're going to get into some news and gossip. But please go to iTunes or YouTube and leave us a comment, and we will definitely make sure to address it next week and get you guys on.
And try calling again next week. Maybe we won't be short on time for the next show.
Yeah. We'll pack it in tighter next time. But we have some news and gossip we want to tell you guys about.
AFTERBUZZ TV News.
You want to start with yours?
Oh, sure. Well, the last episode, if you guys were able to watch, it was very talking about like Tea Party politics and all of that. And one of the senators takes on HBO over a newsroom allegation. That's what I was reading about, where the quote was, where Will McAvoy says, Bob Bennett, the most conservative member of the Senate, is going to lose his primary race to a guy named Mike Lee because Lee found room to the right of Bennett. And what was funny was, I think it kind of started where he was a little offended. He said he wasn't, that they had put him to the right, but they also make a comment about his stance on the 14th Amendment. Mm-hmm. And so Mike Lee spoke out against that with the show. So this show is being picked up by not just, journalists that are watching for it, but also because it's Sorkin and he does West Wing and it's a big show that just premiered. Mm-hmm. Politics are watching it and keeping an eye on it. So Senator Mike Lee was speaking out against what they said about him and his stance on politics. Because I'm not mad at what they said about where I am in the conservative, scale, but this is what I actually feel. And so it's getting...
Yeah. Well, they're talking about real issues, and I think that's kind of rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. Now everybody's getting a little bit defensive, with everything, with the way that they're portraying it. But, it's not affecting ratings. Ratings actually went up this time, so they've got their, highest rating so far with, 2.2 million viewers was the last number that I saw, which I think is great. Justin Timberlake is a fan of the show, so everybody should watch. But also, Matthew Perry is, tweeting out people should watch the newsroom, and I was reading a lot of comments where people are hoping that he can join the cast. So I think that would be kind of fun to see. I know he's got a new pilot that he's doing, but I would love to see him on the newsroom.
Me too.
I think that would be good.
Even just doing cameos or something.
Yeah.
What if
I want him to be the spokesperson for the network?
What if Will Ferrell came on as an anchor?
Oh my gosh,
That would be fun.
Anchorman 3.
That would be hilarious.
He was at Comic-Con, a surprise appearance, so he should just make the rounds, as a campaign person. He could do that for his friends.
That's so funny. But like we were talking about before, a lot of the reporters, a lot of the critics are really knocking the show and, Aaron Sorkin's style of writing, but actual fans of the show are really getting into it, and they're kind of speaking out back. I want to just read this one comment that somebody said in response to somebody saying there was too much Sorkin style. They're like, well, would you go and get a Big Mac and say, ma'am, this tastes too McDonald's-y?
Amen.
I know.
What do they expect?
You're watching an Aaron Sorkin show. Please, everybody take a breath, calm down. It's just for fun.
People still sue McDonald's if the coffee's too hot.
Yeah, that's true.
And people are getting all worked up about the political stance of these shows, but hey, it's a Sorkin show. It's Aaron Sorkin's opinion. That's it, opinion. He's not saying that America should be like this or whatever. It's just his opinion.
Well, he's just tackling some real issues, and Dan Rather wrote an article about it, on his blog, where he really was really for the show. He's a big fan of the show and was talking about this is the type of news people should be watching and pondering, thinking about what you're seeing on television, what you consider to be informative. It's just, people, I think, with reality television and all that, they're just not thinking on the same level that they used to be anymore, because now it's a little bit sillier, lighthearted, and, all of that, which doesn't make it wrong. It's just different. So I think, everybody's getting a little defensive because we're hitting real issues now.
Yeah.
And there's other stuff going on there because I don't usually like my politics in my shows, but I like this because I can watch for the Maggies and the Jims and the characters. I think his development with all of that actually makes, for me personally, I like that portion of it more. His witty writing with characters.
So we'll see how it continues to go on. And, again, please comment and let us know what you think about it, because I like that some people are just watching it now because they know that it's really making other reporters mad. So they're getting into it for that. But let's get into some predictions and see what we think is going to happen next week.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
We'll start with our man of the night.
Oh. Okay.
As he's dancing over there.
I was doing my little.
His manly dance.
Yeah, it's very manly.
That's how you predict the future.
Overmanly.
Exactly.
Sean Overmanly.
That worked in really well. Thank you.
Nice.
Okay, so I think that TMI, that tabloid magazine, is going to be more prevalent in messing with McAvoy's career. And it seems like, obviously, there's like this, ever since the first episode I saw like a little bit of the teasers and stuff for it, he's created quite an upset now because he's being more honest with the American people, right? So I think with Jane Fonda making her appearance and doing all this stuff, there's like this overhanging story arc now of this conspiracy to get rid of him. So that's gonna, I see that coming up in future episodes.
Nice. What about you, Kristen?
I think we're gonna see Olivia Munn and Jeff Daniels characters. There's gonna be something that pops there after kind of seeing. I don't think it'll necessarily be the next episode, but I think we'll see that progress into something a little bit deeper, or just maybe a fling or something going on that way.
Shallow or deep.
Yeah, and then we saw in the previews that it's gonna be Valentine's. Well, I put together there were red balloons.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm thinking Valentine's Day, since it was January, now it'll be February. And Lisa's looking a little PO'd at Jim. I think he's going to break up with her in that. Or as much as you can break up with somebody after 2 dates. That might cause a little issue with it.
Yeah. Kendra?
My prediction has to do with just the whole show, and I predict that because today I felt like there was a spectrum of emotions that they kind of caused, and I was kind of getting choked up at the end when they were reporting about Gabrielle Giffords, and they did it so well. And so my prediction is that the haters that are hating on the show will kind of come around and see that it's a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we're in for another well-written McAvoy monologue.
Nice.
With I think they're gonna have him on the morning show, right? Or they were talking about it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens if he does go on the show, and we know he's gonna stand his ground. So that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that we see him actually, kind of go to bat for himself and just really, 'cause especially with his whole calling everybody out for misrepresentation, and I think that part of him, when he was giving that news broadcast with the warning label, was kind of an attack at, the TMI and the Page 6 articles and all of that. And I think that it'll be fun to see a lot more of that. I want to see, I think that we'll get a little bit of psycho girlfriends coming in,
doing
more.
a
Maybe that's why he
doing
has
more
to get
of
a
that.
security person.
Oh yes, we
something
know that
happens
he's
with
getting a
that.
bodyguard soon, so maybe the crazy ton goat and gun toting. I said it
Catherine Hahn
backwards.
will be back.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm excited for the next episode. But thank you, Sean, for joining us. Hopefully you'll come and hang out with us again.
Thanks for having me, ladies.
And again, you can catch us on Twitter at AfterBuzz TV, and you can follow me at Kellie with an IE079.
You can follow me at the fan 2CTOSEE.
I love the pauses. You can follow me at Kendra Kabasele. Sorry.
And you?
Oh, and you can follow me at Sarah with an H Mendoza. Shout out again tonight, sorry, to Nathan Nakama over at K212 News, who I know is trying to call in.
And you guys can follow me at Sean, SEAN_Overman on Twitter, and you can check out my website, SeanOverman.org, for curing your Netflix syndrome.
Ooh, nice. Thank you guys all for hanging out with us, and we will see you next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.